Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, the urgent manhunt for the Brown University mass shooter intensifies. New surveillance images released by the FBI and Providence police of that person of interest dressed in black, his face covered by a mask. What the new videos reveal as Providence is on edge. Late today, the Los Angeles County District Attorney revealed Nick Reiner will be charged with the murders of his parents, Rob and Michele Reiner. What we're now learning about the final hours before they were killed as we see new images of Nick Reiner's arrest shortly after the bodies were discovered. Heart-wrenching new images from the massacre in Australia. Dash cam shows a heroic couple in their 60s trying to stop the gunman grabbing his rifle. They were the first two people killed in that attack. An intimate look inside President Trump's inner circle, thanks to Vanity Fair's candid interview with Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. A reemergence to the big screen, our conversation with Academy Award winner Gwyneth Paltrow about her first role in nearly a decade in the highly anticipated Marty Supreme.
What if I've lost that weird thing that I do and that I can't even explain how I do it?
The rock band, made up only of judges, shows America that music can be a common cause that unites us all.
The job is tough, and you have to have outlets for something to get you out of your own head every once in a while.
So Ruth Bader Ginsburg went to the opera, Clarence Thomas goes camping, you guys go rocking.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. It is a busy Tuesday night, and we're tracking the latest developments in the manhunt for the Brown University shooter. Authorities released new enhanced video of a person of interest today. Much more on that in a moment. But first, we begin with breaking news in the brutal murders of the Hollywood power couple Rob Reiner and his wife Michele. Their son Nick charged with murder late today. The LAPD released new photos showing Nick's arrest Sunday night. He's currently held without bail and undergoing medical clearance. He'll appear in court once charges are formally filed. And we're learning more about that night of the murders. The Obamas had planned to see the couple that very night. Trevor All leads us off tonight, once again from Los Angeles.
Tonight, for the first time, we're seeing the moment Nick Reiner, the son of star director Rob Reiner, was taken into custody late Sunday, handcuffed, surrounded by LAPD and U.S. Marshals just hours after his parents were found stabbed to death. Late today, the L.A. District Attorney announcing the charges, 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades. His wife, Michele Reiner, was an equally iconic photographer and producer. Their loss is beyond tragic, and we will commit ourselves to bringing their murderer to justice.
The DA says Nick Reiner stabbed his parents to death with a knife. He's now awaiting medical clearance before his arraignment. The 32-year-old has hired high-profile criminal defense attorney Alan Jackson, who most recently defended Karen Reed as she was acquitted of murder.
Every single inmate goes through a medical clearance before they can be transported to court. Every one of them. Okay. And that's a process. It's just a procedural issue. And he has not yet been medically cleared. So he will be here hopefully tomorrow.
And we're learning more details about the hours leading up to those gruesome murders. Sources say Saturday night, Rob Reiner and his son got into an argument at Conan O'Brien's holiday party, and that Nick was seen acting strangely. The next afternoon, sources say Reiner's daughter found her parents' bodies inside their Brentwood home.
This case is heartbreaking and deeply personal, not only for the Reiner family and their loved ones, but for our entire city.
A former security guard tells ABC Nick Reiner had been staying on the Reiner's property. Nick has been open about struggling with drug addiction since he was a teenager. In a 2018 podcast, he described how he once destroyed his parents' guest house while high on meth.
I was up for days on end, and I started punching out different things in my guest house. I think I started with the TV, and then I went over to the lamp, and then everything in the guest house got wrecked. They told me I had to go.
A decade before the murders, when Nick and his father were promoting their film, inspired by Nick's struggles, he said he was grateful for his parents' patience.
But I think I'm lucky in the sense that I have parents that care about me, and because of that, when I would go out and do things like drugs and stuff like that, I'd feel a tremendous amount of guilt.
As the son of comedy legend Carl Reiner, Rob Reiner said he understood the pressures his own son faced growing up in a famous family.
They don't know what he's gone through. Yeah. They don't know why he's done what he does. And, and it's pretty dumb, pretty ignorant of people to say just because you're born and you have money and that doesn't mean anything. Yeah.
And overnight, former First Lady Michele Obama revealing to Jimmy Kimmel that she and the former president had plans to see the Reiners the night they were found dead.
We've known them for many, many years, and we were supposed to be seeing them that night, last night. And we got the news.
And after President Trump made the jarring claim that Rob Reiner was killed because he was anti-Trump, Michele Obama passionately defended her friend.
Unlike some people, Rob and Michele Reiner are some of the most decent, courageous people you ever want to know.
And tonight, the Reiners are being remembered. Jane Fonda saying, "I saw them night before last looking healthy and happy. I am reeling with grief." All in the Family co-star Sally Struthers saying, "There are no words. This is beyond devastating." And Jamie Lee Curtis saying, "Our only focus and care right now is for their children and immediate families."
And Trevor Ault joins us now. Trevor, any word on what kind of sentence Nick Reiner could potentially face?
Yeah, Lindsay, so the DA did not reveal which sentence they would potentially wish to pursue, but they did note there are special circumstances along with these first-degree murder charges, the fact that there were murders of multiple people and that Nick Reiner allegedly used a deadly weapon, a knife. What that means is he could possibly face life without parole or potentially even the death penalty. Lindsay?
Trevor, thank you. And there are new enhanced images coming in as the manhunt continues to find a man who walked onto Brown University's campus and shot nearly a dozen students, killing 2 of them. ABC's Whit Johnson is in Providence, Rhode Island once again tonight. He has the latest.
Tonight, authorities releasing a trove of new images in the intense manhunt to locate the shooter who killed 2 students and injured others at Brown University. And for the first time, police saying a person of interest may have been near the scene at 10:30 that morning.
We believe that he was actually casing out this area to commit the crime.
The latest enhanced surveillance video showing that person of interest wearing a mask, dark clothing, and a 2-tone coat idling on a street corner. This video capturing him from the front. In some clips, the man has a small bag slung across his chest. In others, that bag nowhere in sight.
You want to focus on the body movements, the way the person moved their arms, the body posture, the way they carry their weight. I think those are important movement patterns that may help you identify this individual.
The FBI describing him as a male, approximately 5'8", with a stocky build. Investigators piecing together a timeline of his movements before and after the shooting. Nearly 2 hours before the attack at 2:18 p.m., the man seen walking past this home. Then, minutes later, running down the street and turning the corner. At 2:53 p.m., the man crossing the street with a distinctive walk. Authorities say the shooting occurred shortly after 4 p.m. Soon after, the man appearing to walk away from the building as a police car pulls up. At 4:06 p.m., the man seen not far from the location of the attack.
Both victims revered as remarkable people. ABC's Whit Johnson joins us once again. Whit, where does the search stand at this hour?
Yeah, Lindsay, police are really hoping once again that people will take a close look at these new surveillance images and hoping that somebody will come forward with information leading to that person of interest. In the meantime, the FBI is also rushing in additional resources, including additional lab personnel and evidence response teams to help with this investigation. Lindsay?
Whit Johnson for us once again. Thanks so much, Whit. As the search for the shooter continues, let's bring in criminal profiler and former FBI Special Agent Brianna Fox. Thank you so much for joining us. Police continue to release new images of this person of interest. How crucial are those different angles and more enhanced images to solving this case?
Critical. Oftentimes, it's the tips from the public that end up solving these cases. Now, certainly, we're hoping that there's going to be some forensic breakthrough, something related to shell casings left at the scene or even touch DNA. But in the interim, having the public get as many eyes on these videos as possible, especially with that peculiar gait, that's something that oftentimes will solve a case like this.
What about the shooter's movements would law enforcement be focusing on right now?
Well, there's a few things that I think are really important. The first is the amount of time that he was there, essentially casing this situation before he decided to act. That's actually quite unusual. A lot of times these crimes are very premeditated, almost choreographed. The offender knows what they're going to do before they do it. It seems like there was actually some decision making going on here, which speaks a lot about how this crime may have been motivated or even planned out. Second, there's the actual gait, that walk that he has, which is a little bit unusual. I've seen several cases where the walk alone was enough to identify a suspect.
Law enforcement is heavily relying on the public's help. What should people take into consideration now that we are on the fourth day of this manhunt?
Well, obviously, we're getting anxious. We want to know that this is going to get solved and quickly. There's a lot of concerns about could something else happen if this person's on the loose. I think that it's important to know two things. First is law enforcement is doing everything possible to make sure that everybody is safe. They have cell phone towers up to make sure that every cell phone in that area is getting tracked. They obviously are doing canvases, looking for ring camera footage, getting information from witnesses. So they're trying to make sure that they are both investigating this case, getting as much information out to the public, and also protecting the public.
We see images of FBI agents canvassing the area covered in snow, which came down after the shooting. Could that have compromised evidence, or might that help?
Well, unfortunately, things like snow and rain, even sun down here in Florida, could be damaging to the case or to the evidence in a case. That being said, one of the first things that the FBI and the local law enforcement will do as soon as they arrive on scene is make sure they document and collect every single thing they possibly see, especially if bad weather is on the horizon.
Brianna Fox, we thank you so much for your expertise and insight. Appreciate it. Here in the U.S., the candid interview coming from the center of President Trump's inner circle. Vanity Fair speaking with the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, for more than 10 interviews. Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, reports.
She is President Trump's most powerful and trusted aide, more comfortable behind the scenes than in the spotlight.
Susie likes to stay sort of in the back, let me tell you. The Ice Maiden, we call her the Ice Maiden.
But tonight, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles pulling back the curtain in an extraordinary series of interviews with Vanity Fair. Wiles, who says her father was an alcoholic, describes her boss, the president, as having an alcoholic's personality, noting that Trump, who does not drink, operates with the view that there's nothing he can't do. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. Wiles also has choice words for Vice President J.D. Vance. Discussing the push to release the FBI files into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Wiles says Vance has been a conspiracy theorist for a decade. Vance today responding.
Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true.
Wiles also points a finger at Attorney General Pam Bondi, saying Bondi completely whiffed her handling of demands to release the files on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Wiles telling Vanity Fair there is no client list, and it sure as hell wasn't on Bondi's desk. She does acknowledge the president himself is in the Epstein files, but not doing anything awful. She says the two men were sort of young, single playboys together. Trump has fought efforts to release the Epstein files, instead ordering Bondi to investigate Epstein's relationship with Democrats, like former President Bill Clinton. But Wiles tells Vanity Fair the files include no incriminating evidence about Clinton, saying the president was wrong about that. She also says this claim about Clinton is not true.
I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times.
Wiles telling Vanity Fair there is no evidence Clinton ever visited Epstein's private island. The president tonight standing behind Wiles, telling the New York Post she's fantastic. As for his chief of staff's claim he has an alcoholic's personality, Trump saying, I don't drink alcohol, so everybody knows that. But I've often said that if I did, I'd have a very good chance of being an alcoholic. I've said that many times about myself. I do. It's a very possessive personality.
Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. And Mary, for those who didn't have a chance to read the article, what were some of the key takeaways?
Well, Linsey, Wiles also acknowledges that the president has sought retribution against some of his enemies, saying, quote, "I don't think he wakes up thinking about retribution, but when there's an opportunity, he will go for it." Tonight, Wiles is responding to Vanity Fair. She calls the article a, quote, "disingenuously framed hit piece," though she doesn't deny saying these things. And many are now wondering why the notably tight-lipped chief of staff granted the magazine 11 separate interviews. Linsey.
Mary Bruce from the White House. Thanks so much, Mary. And ABC News Live will have coverage of President Trump's address to the nation beginning tomorrow night at 9 Eastern. For more now, we're joined by Michigan Democratic Senator Elissa Slotkin. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Senator. We have a lot to get to. Let's begin with some breaking news. A short time ago, Trump posted that he's ordering a total blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. You got a classified briefing today on Venezuela. Did administration officials mention this? What's your immediate reaction?
No, and in fact, the classified briefing was just on the strikes that have been happening in the Caribbean and in the Pacific. No mention of the blockade. And I think actually what was interesting is they took pains to say that their policy is not regime change, that they're not going after Maduro. These are just strikes against, drug cartel infrastructure. So it's an interesting contrast to have Secretary Rubio and Secretary Hegseth talking about just the strikes, just going after these drug boats, while the president is clearly trying to do something very different. Particularly, it looks to me, again, more like pressure and regime change on Maduro and Venezuela. So definitely an interesting dichotomy.
In that briefing today, Secretary Hegseth said he did not show the unedited video of the September 2nd strike to all members of Congress, and also said that the video will not be made public. Republicans had at least hoped all of Congress would get to see the video. Anything that you and your colleagues can do in order to compel the video to be released?
Well, some of us on the Armed Services Committee are seeing the video tomorrow, both in the Senate and the House. But the ask was made again for everyone to make it available, and he did a dodge and said, well, I'm sorry, that's classified, it's sensitive. They have released pretty much every single video from every single strike, including the first half of that strike on September 2nd. So the idea that they're going to be threatening sources and methods or operational capability is just not accurate. They don't want to show it. And I think one of the strong statements we know that they know that what happened on September 2nd wasn't right is after September 2nd, they handled survivors differently. In October, they had completely changed their policy. They had a different approach to people in the water without, a way of getting out. So I think, they can say what they want, that they can't possibly show the video. If they want to show the video and they felt fine about showing the public that, they'd just do it.
In that extensive article about Susie Wiles, Vanity Fair reports Wiles said the strategy with regard to drug boats is, quote, keep on blowing boats up until Maduro cries uncle, and people way smarter than me on that say that he will. Did you get any more clarity in the classified briefing today what the plans are with regard to these strikes in Venezuela?
I think what's interesting is, again, Susie Wiles' interview, we definitely took note of it because she's sort of acknowledging that the goal is regime change. And, when you think about what that means, the United States has a ton of force that we've moved into theater. We have aircraft carrier, we have carrier strike group. It's a lot of force. The president is now openly talking about, the oil. I mean, literally 10 minutes ago was tweeting about, well, Venezuela stole our oil. We need that oil back. Maduro's a problem. This is the kind of rhetoric that we see when someone is thinking about regime change, when someone is thinking about the forcible removal of someone. And again, Democrat or Republican, I don't know a single person who's looking to get into another endless war, who's looking to we break it, we buy it. So we just need some caution, some transparency, some thoughtfulness. But it's interesting. The president seems to be on a different page than the briefing we got today.
Today we learned, based on comments from Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson, that votes are not likely on ACA subsidies before they expire at the end of the year. That was the whole Democratic strategy regarding the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Did Democratic leadership make the right decision forcing a shutdown over this issue?
Well, look, we voted last week on just a straight 3-year extension of those tax credits, right? Let people who have a certain plan keep that plan for the next 3 years, and then let's get to work on a real bipartisan reform package. We had 4 Republicans that voted with us, and I give them a lot of credit for reading their public look well, but the rest of the Republicans would not come along, and so it did not pass. So Democrats have been trying to make this point that people's bills are going to, on average, if you're on the ACA plans, your bills are likely to double by January 1st, and this is now settling in. There is a bipartisan group of Republicans and Democrats that are meeting in the evenings to try and hammer something out. The smart ones in the room understand that the public already felt like they were paying way too much for health care. No one is looking for the prices to double and beyond. And the way that we're doing health care is just not sustainable. So I'm ready to work with anybody, literally anyone, on this issue. But my Republican counterparts cannot get their act together on what they want, what they don't want, whether they believe in extension, they don't believe in extension. But look, the public is going to see this come January 1st, and it's going to be painful.
Senator Slotkin, our thanks to you. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Let's get back to the subject on the minds of more than 20 million Americans tonight. Health care. Tax credits for the Affordable Care Act, often called Obamacare, will expire at the end of the week without action from Congress, and that means premiums could double or even quadruple for some people. Let's check in with Jay O'Brien. Jay, is there any chance at all that lawmakers will come to a solution before they leave D.C. for their holiday recess?
Yeah, they leave for their holiday recess Friday, Lindsay. And remember, these tax credits were the central issue for Democrats over the course of the government shutdown. And with Congress leaving at the end of this week, there doesn't look like there is going to be any way to extend them and prevent premiums from skyrocketing. We're even hearing from some moderate Republicans in the House at this hour who are backing efforts to try to force a vote on the House floor to extend these credits. Here's a little bit of what some of those moderate Republicans told me today.
I am pissed for the American people. You know what's funny? 3/4 of people on Obamacare are in states Donald Trump won. So maybe, just maybe, everybody should look at this and say, how do we actually fix the healthcare system?
The reality here, though, is, Lindsay, we don't see Congress acting on the horizon here. There is going to be a health care vote tomorrow in the House of Representatives, but it's going to be on a Republican health care plan that does not extend, doesn't even address these Obamacare tax credits.
And as you know, Obamacare enrollees just don't have the luxury of time. What should they expect when they try to sign up for health coverage?
Yeah, open enrollment ended on Monday for those who want coverage by the 1st of January. But the reality here is, again, more than 20 million Americans get their insurance through an Affordable Care Act exchange, and they are set to see their premiums double on average, but triple and quadruple in some cases, depending upon who you are. And it's leading to some serious concerns that there will be people that will just abandon insurance altogether because of these price hikes, Lindsay. Again, set to come on January 1st, with Congress leaving town without a deal in sight right now on Friday.
Jay O'Brien for us. Thank you so much, as always. We turn now to dramatic new images emerging from the Hanukkah massacre on Bondi Beach, Australia. Dashcam video shows a heroic couple in their 60s trying to stop one of the gunmen by grabbing his rifle. Sadly, they were the first 2 people killed in the attack. ABC's Britt Clennett reports from Bondi Beach.
Tonight, dramatic new dash camera video showing a heroic couple trying to stop a gunman moments before the Bondi Beach Hanukkah massacre. Boris Gurman bravely wrestling the gun away as they fall to the ground, getting up, hitting him with the weapon. Tragically, that gunman then shooting and killing Boris and his wife Sophia, the first of the 15 victims killed. Another hero, Ahmed Al-Ahmed, seen ripping a gun away from one of the attackers before turning it on him, now recovering from gunshot wounds in the hospital. Tonight, praised by Australia's Prime Minister Albanese.
Your courage is inspiring. Thank you very much.
Tonight, authorities say the father and son suspected of carrying out that terror attack had an ISIS flag on their car and visited the southern part of the Philippines last month, where ISIS is active.
Britt Clennett joins us once again from the scene there. Britt, what's the latest from the police investigation?
Hey, Lindsay. Well, as you can see, there is a growing vigil behind me, a real outpouring of grief here for the victims. As for the suspected attackers, we do know that the father was killed. His 24-year-old son was wounded. He's still in hospital, and police now confirming they will be questioning him in the coming hours. Lindsay.
Britt Clennett for us. Thank you so much. The The flood emergency has turned deadly in Washington state. Authorities say the driver of a car on a flooded roadway sunk in about 6 feet of water. The driver did not survive. Multiple levees have broken in the state over the last 24 hours. Hundreds of residents in several communities have been forced to evacuate. Rain is expected through tomorrow. A district court judge says he is inclined to deny a request for a temporary restraining order to halt construction of the White House ballroom. The judge said the National Trust has not established the White House would face the type of irreparable harm requiring the court to step in. And coming up, the much anticipated jobs report is out. Labor market data shows a mixed picture. We'll take a look at those numbers. And the all-judge rock band that could be your next guilty pleasure.
I tell my kids, you are to never acknowledge that I'm your mom. You know, and that's a sad statement, but it's,
really? You
yes,
tell them
I tell
never?
them that. Acknowledge. If somebody says, is your mother Ann McKeag, you say no.
Because?
Because I don't want them to get hurt.
Welcome back, everyone. The long-awaited jobs report is shining a light on the state of the economy. The new data shows the unemployment rate ticked up last month. And while the economy did add jobs in November, the report shows that the jobs market continues to show signs of cooling. Time now for a fresh look at the new jobs report by the numbers. Let's start with October. The report shows that 105,000 jobs were lost. Most of those were government jobs lost due to the shutdown, which halted the release of this key economic data. Moving on to November, employers added 64,000 jobs, a bit more than the 50,000 expected, but a significant decline from the 119,000 jobs added in September. The trouble here, the unemployment rate. It rose to 4.6% last month, its highest level in 4 years. As in previous months, the healthcare sector accounted for the lion's share of hiring in November, adding 46,000 jobs. The construction and social assistance industries also contributed to the uptick in hiring, but manufacturing continues to lose jobs, down 5,000 despite President Trump's efforts to boost that industry. The White House says this report is strong and suggests that the record unemployment is due to necessary federal workforce cuts. Coming up, the latest in the investigation of the MIT professor who was shot and killed inside his home, what officials are telling us tonight. Plus, the Rolling Stones call off their tour for next year. The reason why, next. Welcome back to Prime. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. Nick Reiner, the son of Rob and Michele Reiner, was charged late today with their murders. He stands accused of stabbing his parents to death in their Los Angeles home. His lawyer says he's not medically fit to appear in court. He's currently being held without bail. The urgent manhunt is intensifying for the gunman wanted for the deadly mass shooting at Brown University. Investigators are going frame by frame over the latest surveillance video showing a person of interest dressed in black, his face covered. Authorities taking note of his height, his weight, and his walk. The FBI scouring the Brown campus and surrounding area for evidence, asking the public to share any relevant photos or videos. Outside Boston, police are investigating the deadly shooting of an MIT professor found in his home in Brookline, Massachusetts. Police say 47-year-old Nuno Lauriero was found with multiple gunshot wounds Monday night. The husband and father of 3 was rushed to the hospital where this morning he was pronounced dead. Authorities are treating it as a homicide. Age eventually catches up with us all, and that certainly includes the legendary Rolling Stones. The band called off plans for a 2026 stadium tour of the UK and Europe. According to Variety, it's because Keith Richards, who will be 82 on Thursday, didn't want to make a 4-month commitment. He's battled arthritis for years, which led to him changing his playing style. Coming up, it's been a year of unprecedented threats against judges, and next our Devin Dwyer gets a rare look at how judges are coping with it all through music. And luxury car crash. This was much more than just a damaged Ferrari. We'll explain how it put a whole community in the dark. Welcome back, everyone. It's no secret that being a judge in an American courtroom comes with pressure and responsibility. But in the past year, state and federal judges say they've been bombarded by unprecedented threats to their safety, to their family's safety, and to the rule of law. Tonight, our Devin Dwyer is given the rare opportunity to hear directly from judges on what they faced and the surprising way some in Minnesota are using music to cope in these divisive times.
For Justice Anne McKeag, deciding cases on the Minnesota Supreme Court these days is a far cry from the country music stardom of her childhood dreams.
It is an overwhelming responsibility.
Her walk to the bench, a reminder she stands alone as the first Indigenous woman justice anywhere in the country. It's high pressure to perform, she says, raised higher now by a surge of violent threats towards judges like her.
And I think people are extremely unhappy and they don't know where to take out their anger or how to take out their anger in a way that is not involving violence. Also, it's the public response to the decisions that we make. We're in the press more than some of our district court colleagues, but all of our families get impacted by this.
Nearly 3/4 of Minnesota judges have reported receiving threats. About as many say they fear for their safety because of the job they do. Nationwide, state and federal judges have been raising the alarm about vitriolic phone calls, swatting and doxing incidents involving their personal homes, and social media posts like this one.
And look at who we got here, Judge Johnson.
A 3-minute TikTok reel in the style of a video game showing a man violently attacking a likeness of Florida Judge Jennifer Johnson.
Let's bury the hatchet.
Parts of that video that you don't see, he named me. He talked about my divorce, my remarriage, my name change, my children, where I live, and where I work. And so it was a very scary time for me and my family.
Federal District Court Judge John McConnell of Rhode Island, who recently ordered the Trump administration to pay out SNAP food benefits in full, says he's had 6 credible death threats against his life.
I double dare you to try to put charges on Donald J. Trump. You okay? I wish somebody would assassinate your Somebody needs to wipe his out. Stupid son of a.
I've been on the bench almost 15 years, and I must say it's the one time that actually shook my faith in the judicial system, in the rule of law, in the work they do.
Judge McConnell is also among the dozens of reported cases of unsolicited pizza deliveries to judges' homes as acts of intimidation.
They wanted to let us know that they knew where we lived.
More disturbing, Judge McConnell said, is that the delivery to his home was in the name of Daniel Anderl, the son of federal Judge Esther Salas of New Jersey, who was murdered by a disgruntled lawyer posing as a delivery man. That disgruntled lawyer had once argued before Judge Salas.
To hear that my beautiful son's name, everything that Danny stands for is love and light. And to hear people using it as a weapon. These threats are, threats that go to the core.
I tell my kids, you are to never acknowledge that I'm your mom, and that's a sad statement. But it's,
really?
Yes, I tell them that. Acknowledge. If somebody says, is your mother Anne McKeag, you say no.
Because?
Because I don't want them to get hurt.
The intensity of the threats against judges and their families have created taxing new dimensions to upholding rule of law in America. And that has prompted many, including Justice McKeag, to search for new ways to cope.
I thought, okay, we need to find out a way to have some fun because this is a pretty serious job.
Meet the Reasonable Doubts, an all-judge rock band that plays classics from Johnny Cash and contemporary hits from Elle King.
There are 10,000 bar bands that are more talented than we are musically. People are interested because of the day job, and that's okay too.
Their repertoire has a decidedly law and order vibe.
And do you perform in your robes?
No, thank goodness.
But you do wear black.
We do wear black.
All rise.
Justice McKeag recruited Justice Sarah Hennessy and 7 other judges from across the state. They meet twice a month in, what else, an old law library to blow off steam. Retired Judge Dale Harris spent 15 years hearing cases in Duluth.
The job is tough, and you have to have outlets for something to get you out of your own head every once in a while.
So
and
Ruth Bader Ginsburg went to the opera, Clarence Thomas goes camping, you guys go rocking.
That's pretty much it, yeah.
Being a judge is not only stressful, but there's a lot of secondary trauma.
What do you mean by that?
We sit through trials where you have victims testify who have suffered through some really difficult criminal experiences, right? In your courtroom, you're going to take on some of that pain, and it wakes us up at night. You know, this is therapy for us. This is a way to use something creative to feel better, and I think we've all found that to be helpful.
This was a long dream of yours, to be a rock star.
Well, yeah, it was definitely a role. Yeah, I mean, it's the part that brings me the most joy.
McKagan and the Reasonable Doubts are spreading that joy in public, performing on stage at community gatherings, despite safety risks from greater exposure outside their courtrooms.
I think that it shows people a side of judges that they don't expect. So it's like, well, no, actually, we're people.
Before the band was part of our social media website, I think we had like 200 followers on Instagram, and now we've got almost 3,000.
We've got groupies now.
But what that means is we can now use that platform to talk about things that matter.
The band members hail from rural, suburban, and urban courts, Republican appointees and Democrat appointees, all finding common cause in music. Is there a message there?
Yeah, that this is the way the country should behave. You can have disagreements, but it doesn't mean that we have to be at war with each other.
And we take care of each other. It doesn't matter where you're from, what your politics are, we take care of each other.
And they show each other, as Queen puts it,
all about coming together. Our thanks to Devin Dwyer for that. Coming up, why the FDA says multiple major retailers failed to remove recalled baby formula from their shelves amid an infant botulism outbreak. And Gwyneth Paltrow joins us to talk about making her long-awaited return to the big screen for her upcoming film, Marty Supreme. How the theft of 2 luxury vehicles spiraled into an explosion and power outage in Miami. The FDA says major retailers failed to remove recalled baby formula. And could a tantrum-detecting smartwatch help parents manage their kids' outbursts? These stories and more in tonight's Rundown. A stolen car in Miami Beach set off a chaotic chain of events that led to a police pursuit and crash into a light pole. The driver was sent to the hospital. Surveillance video captured the moment of impact as a Ferrari slammed into a light pole and caused the transformer to explode, knocking out power to the surrounding area. The owner of the Ferrari said they hired a company to wrap the cars, but according to police, the car never arrived at the shop for its paint job. The subject will be booked into jail following his treatment at the hospital. A $1.25 billion Powerball jackpot could provide someone with plenty of spending money just 9 days before Christmas. This marks only the second time in Powerball history that the game has generated back-to-back billion-dollar jackpots. While the annual payment is worth $1.25 billion, the lump sum payment would be $572.1 million, both before taxes. Don't count your cash just yet. The odds of winning the jackpot, roughly 1 in 292 million. The next drawing is tomorrow evening. Ford Motors is backing away from its EV promises as the company reported lackluster sales and waning customer interest in its electric vehicles. The company says it has lost more than $13 billion on electric vehicles since 2023. And Ford announced that they will discontinue its all-electric F-150 Lightning pickup truck in favor of manufacturing more efficient gas-powered and hybrid vehicles. The Food and Drug Administration sent letters to major retailers, including Target, Walmart, Kroger, and Albertsons, after finding that the stores had not removed recalled baby formula from their shelves. By Heart brand formula products were recalled last month after a multi-state outbreak of infant botulism hospitalized at least 51 infants across 19 states. But the FDA says they subsequently found the products still on shelves in more than 175 retail locations across 36 states. In separate statements, Walmart and Albertsons both said that they followed proper protocol and were cooperating with the FDA. Instagram is coming to your TV screen. The Meta-owned platform says that they are testing an app for Amazon Fire streaming devices, which would allow users to watch Instagram Reels with their TVs. The company says the Reels will still be in the familiar vertical orientation and expects to expand the TV app to other streaming devices. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have developed a smartwatch-based alert system that could detect temper tantrums in children. In a clinical trial of 50 children, researchers found that the early alert shortened tantrums in children with emotional and behavioral disorders by an average of 11 minutes. The device monitors changes in heart rate, movement, and sleep. Mayo Clinic says technology can supplement other means of therapy to help parents offer their children support. Next tonight, she is acting once again for the first time in almost a decade, and Gwyneth Paltrow's performance in Marty Supreme, it's already generating Oscar buzz. So what made her decide to come back, and what's next? We had the chance to sit down with her, but first, here's a sneak peek at Paltrow in Marty Supreme.
Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna make an apple appear in that bowl. And if I do, you're gonna blow off your little rendezvous.
No.
Watch me play.
I'm not agreeing to anything.
All right, we don't have to agree to anything. I'm gonna do it anyway, okay? 1, 2, 3. I'll leave a ticket for you at the box office.
And we are so grateful to be joined tonight by Gwyneth Paltrow. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about Kay Stone. She is a very glamorous, retired Hollywood actress. How much a departure is playing her from the very glamorous, now return to acting actress of Gwyneth Paltrow?
I think Kay and I have a few similarities. I think that's what intrigued Josh Safdie about me playing this part, was that kind of meta aspect of me being semi-retired as an actor, focusing on Goop, my business. And I think they're similar in feel. Kay is, you know, I think she's had a lot of pain in her life. She's lost her son in the war. She's in a loveless marriage. And I think Timothy's character really reignites something in her. I think for myself, you know, I was experiencing an empty nest and kind of big existential questions about my life, and thought, yeah, sure, let me go back and see what this feels like.
So what was that first scene like that you taped very deliberately? The director decided you're going to have, it's going to be a meta moment. Speaking of, it's your first return back to filmmaking. It's also Kay Stone's first return to the stage. Was that kind of art imitating life?
It was for me. I don't know if they, by design, they had my first day be that day where I was back, kind of first day on stage rehearsing a play and trying to figure out the blocking. But it was very fortuitous for me because I come from the theater. So to have those two things combined and have that first moment be, okay, I'm in a theater, you know, it's just very grounding, and I felt very lucky that that was my entree back into it.
And also very lucky that your leading co-star, Timothy Chalamet, right? Of that you said, okay, great, I'm 109, you're 14. What was it like working with him?
It was great. He's a very dedicated actor. He is very, very talented, you know, and just really committed. You know, I always get very inspired when I see someone with that level of commitment.
You pressed the pause button on show business for 7 years. Was it like riding a bike? You've said that you were nervous to return.
I was nervous to return because acting is so, it's quite difficult to define how one does it. And so I was like, what if I've lost that weird thing that I do and that I can't even explain how I do it? Luckily, it all came rushing back.
Do you think that now that you've kind of returned and put your toe back into acting, is there a balance, or you'll go on pause again, hiatus again?
I think, transparently, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly. The possibilities are there, and I'll have to just be intentional and see what happens.
And there was a time early on in your career that you've talked about where you've just likened it to being on a train, and you were constantly going from one project to the next.
Yeah.
Are you a lot more intentional now?
Yeah, that I will not do again. You know, I think in my 20s I really felt I just have to say yes to everything and I'll never get another job. And, you know, I just looked at everything very differently.
You have said before that when you were 19 and you auditioned for a Woody Allen movie and you didn't get it, that your mom gave you some advice, which was just, you know, if you don't get it, it's not your role.
That's right.
Did that help with lifelong perspective?
It did. It completely freed me up, because I think we're all raised with within this scarcity model, especially within women, to be competitive. If one woman gets something, that means you didn't get it. I've carried that with me, you know, throughout my business career, throughout my acting career, and it's served me very well.
And your mom, as you mentioned, who's a very famed actress in her own right, she did her best to tell you not to become an actress. What made you decide you were going to ignore that?
Well, you know, I think when you grow up and you watch your mother, your hero on stage, seeing somebody that you look up to so empowered and kind of in the most realized version of themselves, it's just absolutely intoxicating. So for me, there was no other career choice ever when I was growing up.
Is there a role out there that you'd say, of course I would take that?
I mean, not off the top of my head. I think there are things that I still want to do, like we spoke about. I've never done a play on Broadway, for example. I've done them lots of other places, so that might be really interesting.
And lastly, for people who haven't seen the movie yet, aside from, oh, it's about a ping pong player, he's really driven, how would you describe it?
I think it's a big kind of breathless opus, exploring complicated and passionate characters and their sort of arc from amorality to morality.
That is a really good way to say a breathless opus. Gwyneth Paltrow, thank you so much for the time and conversation. Really appreciate it.
And you can see Gwyneth Paltrow alongside Timothée Chalamet in Marty Supreme in theaters nationwide Christmas Day. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of today's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us.